What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and this is another episode of Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had an awesome week. I know I say this every week, but it just kind of flew by. I went to sleep on Monday and woke up. It was Friday. But you know, good thing about that is that I get to come back and be with you guys. So tonight we have another amazing guest. We have Miss Rica Nadine.
What's
She
up?
is the she is the owner and founder of Seven Tribe
Mm,
Media.
yes, sir.
She is an influencer of sorts. She is a podcaster like myself. But on another level though. She's on another level. I'm looking up. Um, and just the overall entrepreneur and businesswoman in her own right. And so I'm excited to sit down with her and just pick her brain about a little bit of everything. So we're just going to get started. For those of you who may not be familiar with Miss Nadine and her movement, I'm going to give her a moment to kind of reintroduce herself and give a little background about all that she has going on. So with that being said, you have the floor.
Okay, so I'm Rica Nadine, aka Nene, period pool. I've been doing media for almost 5 years and counting. I really have a heart for the CHH community, the urban community. So that is literally what Seven Tribe Media is literally all about. I'm a Bible geek. I'm just a child of God. That's how I can base myself down.
Absolutely. So let's start from the beginning. Usually when I have guests on here, um, the businesses that they start or the professions that they choose to go in usually comes from they were in a place and doing doing something and there was something lacking. And
Mm,
so they decided, well, hey, I'm gonna do this business because they're not doing it right. Or, you know, there's something missing or whatever the case.
mm.
What made you start doing the whole interview Barbara Walters, Wendy Williams thing?
Honestly, it's something I want to put a disclaimer out for anybody who will be watching live now or the playback. I didn't want to interview. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be in politics. But I seen a need, and I seen that women, really single young Black women, were really not shown in the CHH urban community, not only as artists but also as interviewers and people in media and people owning. We're always seen as the A&R or the assistant. We're never seen in the forefront. So I seen that need, and I'm like, I mean, it's a hard industry to push through. CHH, urban community, is a very hard community to push through. But I'm like, I'm going to fight. Like, I'm going to fight for the women that come after me and the women that are here now who are fighting with me. So that's the need I've seen. That's a good
Wow.
question.
Wow. So CHH, Christian hip hop. Um, what's the story? Why Christian hip hop? Why not rock and roll? Why not, I don't know, whatever.
Well, CHH, I love trap, honestly. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. And when I've grown up in the church. So growing up, you listen to the Kurt Franklins, the CC Winans, which is cute and dandy. But I like trap. And it's like, if I can get a secular sound but have a biblical meaning or biblical perspective on it, that's what I wanted to do. So I'm like, yeah, I may not be able to rap, I may not be able to sing, I may not be able to do any of that, but there are artists that are doing it. So I'm like, why not support? So that's why.
Wow. Um, I'm kind of like that too because I am an artist. I don't rap, I sing, but I'm not a typical church person. I grew up in New York. My mother My mother kept us in church, of course, but I mean, you're there because you're being made to be there. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
And but more so, I was into, Biggie and Pop
Mhm.
and Jodeci and those guys, and so my music kind of reflects what I was mainly influenced by. It was one of my friends. Shout out to Terry Rady. He gave me a CD of Fred Hammond. I had never heard of him before.
Wow.
That was really my introduction to gospel music.
Mm,
And as I got older, my spiritual walk got tighter or whatever.
mhm.
But I never kind of let go of that musical influence.
Right.
Um, do you feel like the church community gives Christian hip hop the proper consideration slash respect in the marketplace?
That is a really good question. And my opinion is no. I don't think so. I think they still see it as um it's secular, or their beat is secular, or they're looking at it in a way that younger people are not looking at it. It's like, I feel like if it's even if it's I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to put it, but even if it's rock and it's mentioning God, I mean, why not support it?
Right,
If it's edifying God, I think it should be supported no matter what genre it comes from. So
right.
I don't think that they get the love that they deserve.
I totally agree. And when you when you listen to like quote unquote traditional gospel music that we hear with some of the older groups, they I can't come to like the Clark sisters
Mhm.
and others, that sound
Mm.
is what's accepted now. But back then, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's like I guess as the music evolves, it always goes through a challenge. So like maybe 20 years from now, this will be the accepted music
Sure.
in the next, you know what I mean? So I always, I always think about that. And then my grandmother used to, always bring up the story of when Jesus came on a donkey.
Mm.
You know what I mean? He came to the people on a donkey,
Mm.
but he was, the King of Kings. You know what I mean? And people should have expected him to be on the stage. He expected him to be all grand or whatever, but he came in an unconventional way. And so I feel like the church, what particularly the older generation,
Yeah.
tend to be a little closed-minded when it comes to that, but not not realizing that even in during their time, their style of gospel music wasn't accepted by their forefathers.
Sure. Like
So,
Kurt Franklin and
yeah,
Revolution, that wasn't it's cute, but it wasn't that accepted.
right, right. So yeah, I've seen you do I've seen you do a bunch of interviews. When I interview somebody,
Mhm.
I try to like OD on them during the days leading up.
Right.
And so I was checking you out on YouTube and I was messing with you offline about it. You got Google on there, you got one of the Pace sisters on there. Um, I'm like, man, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
how did she do that? You know what I mean? I'm definitely online with that. Um, with all the all the amazing people that you have on your platform,
Mhm.
what does it I'm trying to frame it correctly. What does it do for you? Like what does it do for you specifically? I know that you're trying to push forward the CHH movement and that whole female empowerment thing or whatever, but what does it do for you specifically?
That is a really good question. These are good questions. Oh my goodness.
Uh, Thank you. Thank you.
So that is, oh my goodness. I've never actually sat and thought. I would actually have to say it gives me every interview that God has graced me with, it gives me another inch of trust for Him, to be honest. Because it's like there's so many people that are interviewing, there's so many young people interviewing, there's so many podcasts, so many radio stations, so many TV shows out there. And for God to give me a moment to sit down with someone who I deem is important at the time or who is important in the season that I'm going into, I it's like I put another notch on my belt of trust and my faith factor. So that's how I would answer that.
Wow. So what are since in the midst of your journey, 5 years, um, what have you learned about yourself as far as like maybe personality wise, giftings? What are some things that you might have learned about yourself that you didn't know about yourself per se prior to starting? What are some things that you discovered about yourself that you didn't really know until you started doing this?
That's a good question too. I would say I didn't notice this before because before I don't know if you read my bio, but before I was working as an assistant for a well-known artist, Mr. Dell, and I was really behind the scenes. Like I still think that's what the area that God has called me to.
Mhm.
But learning the behind the scenes, I learned a lot about what draws people, how to get people's attention, how to keep the audience attention, stuff like that. And imagery is really big to me. Branding is very big to me. And I didn't think it was big before, even though I was really hard on myself. Like, okay, when people see you, you need to look a certain way. When people see you, God has put all these different words in the Bible, all these different words to say. It's like, okay, when you're put on a platform, use it. So
Right.
I would say imaging is something I've learned about myself that I'm kind of hard on myself about. And I'm such a perfectionist, which I did not know until I got into the industry. Like I will literally do an interview, and I did an interview with David Mann Jr. and his wife.
Mm.
I haven't even put it up. I haven't put it up because I'm like, okay, this interview could be so much better. Like, I need to reach out to them. Let's do it again. I'm kind of hard on myself, to be honest.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's what I would say.
That and it's amazing that you even brought that up because that was going to be a part of my questions too. Imaging and
Mm,
gospel music, are they
mm,
like it doesn't even seem like they should be synonymous with one another because
mm,
we're so theoretically we're supposed to be dealing with authentic relationship with God and not necessarily caring about the things that quote unquote don't matter.
mm.
um but imaging, like, how important is that in this genre of music? I mean, is it as important as an R&B artist, for instance, or
Oh, that's a good question. That is a really good question. I think if we compare the gospel industry to the secular industry, I think the gospel industry is a little bit more lenient when it comes to imagery. But the secular world is more hard. Like you have to be shaped a certain way. You have to show this amount of skin. You have to be, your teeth have to be a certain way. And then gospel, we accept. I feel like we accept more. Like we accept big. We accept gays. We
Mhm.
just accept more.
Mm,
Um, Not saying the secular don't accept more because we are walking into an era of body positivity, but it's like we're taking baby steps to get there.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's something that I always kind of keep in the back of my mind when I think about that genre. Like I said, being an artist myself, um, I don't want to be consumed with. I'm mindful of it, but I'm trying not to be consumed with it. You
Right,
get what I'm saying?
right.
Um, you specifically, how is imaging respectfully? You are very you're beautiful.
Thank
You are a beautiful
you.
woman. Respectfully.
Mhm.
Um, and this is gonna sound like a weird question, but is that an asset or a liability for you? Or have you found it to be an asset or an liability to you?
See, in that area of my life, I'm still working through, per se. People, like, I used to work with a company, they're like, use it, like, get out here, get sponsors, da 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 da. But I'm very humble. I'm very timid. Even though it may not seem like it on social media, I'm very shy, very much shy. So when
Okay.
somebody be like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And
Hmm.
it's very like I come off very timid, but when it's time to go, it's time to go. So for me, I would say I kind of in imaging that where I have to, oh my goodness, how do I want to word this? When I have to bring forth something, I don't feel like I put my all into that area because I'm
Hmm.
looking at I don't want to sound stupid. Okay, yeah, it's cute to look cute on camera, but I don't want to sound stupid. I'm thinking analytical, like not only how's it gonna look, but how's it gonna sound to people.
Right. Yeah, because I found that just from talking to people, sometimes when you have a person who is um, pleasant looking, pleasant to look at, there are certain stereotypes that are attached to it. Like maybe because because you look the way that you look, people might think that you're a pushover. You
Mm,
know what I mean? They might think that they can, you know, run anything by you and you would just, the whole airhead blonde thing.
right,
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's something that I have a weird
right. I feel
I
you.
guess I have a weird thought process.
Right, I feel you.
Um
Good question.
who who has been the since you started doing this,
Mhm.
who have you been most surprised to find out knew about you in your movement? Who are you most surprised to find out knew about you? Imagery.
Um, ooh, that's a good question. These are really good questions. Oh my goodness. Um, can you restate the question? Because I want to answer it right.
And your since you've been doing this,
Hmm.
who have you been most surprised to find out knew who you were? Like you were on their radar before you reached out to them, or you reached out to them and they were like, "Girl, I know who you are." You know what I mean? And you like, what? Like who are you most surprised to find out?
Mm, I would actually have to say, oh my goodness. I mean, I've had many like Goo. I don't know if she seen me before, but when she got on, she was like, oh my bad. She was like, "Oh my goodness, like you're so gorgeous. I looked on your Instagram, I looked this, like you're so gorgeous." And I was like, "Honey, I'm gonna put that in my bio." But actually I would have to say Ever Drake. I've seen him before in
Mhm.
many locations, but I was always too shy to go up to him because Ever Drake, I don't know if you ever met him, but he's the type of person where people swarm around him. Like he
Oh,
brings
really?
crowds. So
Mhm.
when I did the interview, when I reached out, he was like, "Of course I want to do the interview. Like you're the great Rica Nadine." I was like, "No, he did not. 70 plus years in this industry. You talking about I'm the great? No, no, sir." So I think that was really surprising. Oh, hey.
This is a question that I ask a lot too. Like in your journey,
Mhm,
there are I come to find that there are two groups of people.
mhm,
Um, and mind you, these are not haters. They're not haters. These are people that genuinely care for you and want you to do and be well. But you have one side that says, "Hey, Rika, I know some people who were trying to do what you do,
Mm,
and it didn't really work out that well for them. They lost a lot of money, or they lost a lot of time, or they lost a lot of friends, or they just lost.
mm,
And I care about you. So you think maybe you might want to like rethink this thing, you know what I mean? Maybe try something else." And
mm.
then you have the other side that says, "Yo, Rika, you are doing your thing, but you know what? You're not out there like so and so.
Right.
You need to be in front of the camera a little bit more. You need to maybe do some commercials or whatever, some type of promo, more marketing, more promo for yourself." So basically, you have a side that says you're not doing enough,
Mm.
and then you got the other side that says you're doing too much. Is that something that you've experienced in during your journey or through your process of doing it?
I would say yes and no. I would say yes. The first example you gave, that was very much my grandparents coming into this. They didn't really understand. Like, I've been to London. I've traveled a little bit, and they didn't understand. Why are you doing this? Like, you can go to the military, you can be a lawyer, you can push, politics. Like, let's do it. Like, you're a good student. And
Mhm.
then on the other hand, I come from a family of people in media. Shout out says almost caught. Shout out to Throne Connections. So I come from a family of media. So we do like these meetings. And my brother, I won't say he's the hardest. I think out of all of us, I'm the hardest on everyone else. But I would think he would be that person where, okay, you're not doing enough. Like he asks me every month, you gonna do some interviews? You gonna push yourself out here? What you doing next? And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to focus on school. I need to do this. I be trying to do everything, but
Right.
so I would say yes, I've experienced that. I've also experienced that with companies, which is scary, um, very scary. But yeah, that's how. Yeah.
So how do you navigate through that? Like how do you find that safe space where you can just kind of like just
Well,
move?
I'm a very this could be my toxic trait, honestly. But I'm the type of person I will tell you about myself before you tell me about myself. And
Mm,
I think that could be my toxic trait just a little bit because it's like I'll come for myself before you can come for me. So if I feel like you're coming for me, I'm just gonna
mm,
go ahead and come for myself. But I'm a thinker. I'm an overthinker. So somebody can be like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Not only am I overthinker, but I talk to God a lot. So it's like I have all these opinions. I have this person, this person, this person, my own, and I'm listening to God at the same time. So literally, like I would have to sometimes sit down and like play instrumentals and like literally like do like a flow chart in my mind. Okay, like
mm.
if I do this, okay, this could happen. If I do this could happen. So that's how I deal with it. Um, I mean, not everybody can do it that way, but that's how I deal with it.
Awesome. Awesome. So over these past few years, we've dealt with pandemics,
Mm,
social unrest,
mhm,
racial unrest, police, Black Lives Matter, this whole thing.
mhm.
Um, how has it, if it has at all, how has it affected how you're able to move around and do what Rika Nadine needs to do? Like, does it has it like for instance the pandemic? Um, how did was that did that affect you in any way as far as how you're able to do your interviews and do everything that you're trying to do?
I would actually say yes and no. Yes, because there are like there was a few events. I'm like, okay, yes, God, I'm gonna show up to the Steelers this year. I'm gonna be on the carpet. I'm gonna be in the press room, and then they went virtual. Or there's just been certain events. I'm like, yes, God, this is my year. And then he's like, no, ma'am, maybe next year. But then at the same time, because everything's online it's easier because it's like I can sit in my little room, drink my tea, drink whatever I have going on, and sit in front of a computer and talk and have a
Mhm.
guest on. So yes and no.
As far as the, the whole race relations component and
Mm.
the whole police thing, has that affected how you move around and do business as well?
I would say yes. Actually, at the beginning of 2020, I've never told anybody this. I was at this
Okay,
school,
exclusive.
right?
Let's go, let's go.
I was at
Nah.
this school. I'm technically still at it, but we working on it. We about to move out. I was
Mhm.
at this school and I was running for student government at the time. And the lady, she literally told me, like bold face, told me, "Well, I don't think you're a good candidate for president, but maybe you can be the president of the minority club." And I was
Wow.
shocked. Like I was bewildered. Like it hurt me to the like I wanted to tear up on the call. But I'm OG, so I'm like, no, ma'am. I want this position. I'm gonna run for this position. So I think it's affected me more as I want to learn more because we have the internet, we have TikTok, which I think TikTok, I've learned so much more on TikTok than I did my 13 years of school. Um,
Wow.
so I
Wow.
just want to learn more. I want to be more invested. I also want to be a change in my community. Yeah, because I'm mixed, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I want to know so much, but
Mhm.
at the same time, I want to balance both cultures, if that makes sense. And sometimes it's hard because, on TikTok, you got Karens. And I'm like, girl, I don't even want to be associated with that race. You
Right.
got, you got all
Right.
these police beating up.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
I want to be pro-black so bad, but it's like there's another part of me that's still there, that's still longing, that's a void that I want to feel. And it's like social media is showing me, okay, you can feel it, but maybe not right now. Maybe
Mhm.
not when this is going on. So
Mhm.
hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, you know what? That's a interesting point because I talk to a lot of pastors on here, and I bring up that very thing, and I ask them like, how important is it for you when it comes to addressing your congregation, being responsible for a group of people? How important is it for them to know how you feel, as
Mm,
opposed to what God is telling you to express?
mm,
Is there a dynamic between the two? How you actually feel about a situation versus being able to manage 20, 30, 100, 1,000 other people to
mm.
keep them from going off the deep end.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I always, that's always a interesting, dynamic. Like I said, is it, it's like how black,
Right.
how black do you have to be,
Right.
or do you need to be? Um, and that's really tough.
Mm,
But I think that for all movements, you have to have the soldiers, but you also have to have the command as
mm,
well. You know what I'm saying? And so
right.
you have to kind of organize the noise, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So I definitely feel what you're saying. Absolutely, I
I have
absolutely.
a question. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How would you answer that question?
As far as which question?
The question of, with the racial tension that's going on, that question. How would you answer?
Um, it's how has it affected me?
Mhm.
Um, it's given me more to talk about.
Mm,
Um, it's I think it's something that we as people shy away from.
mm,
Um, but it's something that has to be brought to light. I mean, we've seen a lot of negative things happen, but for the first time, people are actually voicing their true opinions, whether you agree or not. whether it's bad or good, whether it's a black person trying to uplift their culture or a white person saying that we are nothing. You know what I'm saying? At least I feel like you're better off knowing who your enemies are. You know what I'm saying? Like for a long time, people have stayed to themselves and nobody really knows what the other is thinking. But now, you've seen celebrities on tape saying disparaging things about, minorities and these things. So for the first time, you're kind of privy to a lot of conversations. But to answer your question, yeah, it gives me more to talk about, more to think about. And like you said a second ago, it inspires me to be more educated on the things that are around me that that I may or may not have noticed prior to. So I hope that answered your question.
That did. That answered my question. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Yeah, that's something that I think about often because I have a young son, and you know I just wonder what it's going to be like when he is old enough to drive and date and different things like that. And so, I think that it's good now. It's good that we're able to talk now. You know what I'm saying? So that may possibly, hopefully, prayerfully, that when he gets to be, old enough to move around, there's more of an understanding and more of a balance within
Right,
the culture and the community.
right. I feel you.
Um, who is, if you haven't had it already, who is your dream interview?
That is a good question. There's so many people I want to interview. But it's like I feel like if I interview them, I'm not gonna like them because for some reason, once like I've interviewed somebody and I was a huge fan before the interview, and then after I was like, ooh,
Trust me, I get it. I know. I know.
ooh, not a fan anymore. But I would actually have to say Felicia Rashad.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, from Bill Cosby, we all know her. She was
Mm,
a
yeah. Yeah.
big inspiration. But then at the same time, it's like I don't because I don't want it to be like I don't want to tell her my story like, oh, like you pushed me and you pushed other black women. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I've already heard this. So, at the so
Wow.
but yeah,
Okay.
that would be my dream interview for sure.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that, but that's absolutely cool. Um, I was joking with you offline about some of the interviews that you've been able to do.
Mm,
Um, what's one interview that you just knew you weren't going to get,
mm.
but by some blessing you were able to get? What was one of your most interesting processes?
I actually can I say two because there's two that I
Sure.
know for sure. My interview with Duranis Pace and my interview with Gugu, which shout out. Hopefully he's watching. My brother Big Ben got me both of those interviews. But with Duranis Pace, okay, so it's a long story, but I'm gonna simplify it. So we scheduled something. I did a radio interview, and I was like, scratch that. I want to do a TV interview. Let's set something up. She's like, bet. Like, well, she didn't say bet, but she
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do it. I'm doing this show soon. Like, y'all can come get some behind the scene footage, stuff like that. So I was like, bet. So we scheduled it. We actually got packed up and we traveled down to Atlanta on the wrong weekend. So then we had to head back. And then it was the
Wow.
next following weekend. We did the interview by God's grace. Um, But yeah, the process of getting to her physically, and then once you find out her story, like she didn't have a car. She gave her car to her son.
Wow. Wow.
She was living off minimum. Like she's somebody who's been in this industry for decades, and
Mhm.
she didn't even have enough to really live.
Mm.
It saddened me. Like I was almost in tears. I'm about to tear up now. She's of course gone, but I'm just glad I got the opportunity. And then of course Gugu. We all know Goo. That was
Yeah.
most definitely interesting interview. At first I didn't think they were like, okay, you have to interview this person to get to Goo. I was like, okay, I really don't want to interview this person. I just want Goo. Like just give me Goo. But then I sucked it up, Buttercup, and I
Mm.
was like, let me just do this interview and get it over with. And then I got my Google interview. And like some of the things she said on there, like I'm not really a fashion person.
Mhm.
But I was enlightened for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, those were I would have to say those were the two.
I definitely was interested when she started talking about the whole marketing and sponsorship
Hmm.
portion that she was talking about. I didn't get a chance to listen to it all, but I definitely I was listening the whole time. But when she started talking about that, I was like really locked in. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
wow, that's really interesting. So I'm
Crazy enough,
definitely gonna
she
get
was
that.
in a Black Lives Matters rally during the
Yeah,
interview.
yeah,
That was
that's
crazy.
yeah,
But it was
that's
cool.
pretty dope.
Right.
Um, um, would you consider yourself a stop and smell the roses person or a okay, this is done, on to the next, on to the next, on to the
Ooh,
next.
I'm very much on to the next. Because I feel like if I stop and smell the roses, I feel like I'm going to get a big head. And I don't want
Mhm.
to, I never, never, never want to get a big head. So I'm like, okay, yep, this is a notch on my belt. Let's keep moving. Like, let's go to the next.
Absolutely. Who would you say is your greatest influence within this realm?
Oh, I have so many. I'd actually have to say my family.
Ooh,
All my family, they push. Like my family, we've been through stuff literally like we would have to put in a book and be a bestseller for y'all to believe half this stuff. But yeah,
okay.
my mom, my brother, his determination, my mom's faith. I have a 9-year-old sister in radio and TV, and then I have a 14-year-old sister in radio and TV, and like their drive to do things, like they're very opinionated. Kids of this generation have so many opinions with no experience. It's so
Wow,
crazy to me.
wow.
So their opinions and their strongfulness, my dad with his work ethics. So yeah, I would have to say my family.
What would you? Well, I know you said that you were on pace to be a lawyer or a politician or in politics, not
Hmm.
necessarily a politician, but in politics.
Hmm.
So if you weren't doing this, can I assume that that's what you would have been? That's what you would be doing, or you
Yes,
have?
I'm still gonna do it. Honestly, I'm in school right now
Okay.
to push for that because I'm like, you can be in media and do politics. Like, you don't have to
Mhm.
be a pastor and be in politics. You can
Right,
be in media because they want to be interviewed too. They trying to get their campaign out here too. So why not have the best of both worlds?
right, right. Being very well rounded, and you know
Hmm.
what I mean. I try to be as well versed in as much as I can, so I can speak somewhat intelligently on any number of subjects.
Right.
Um, so ultimately, what is the goal of Seven Tribe? Like, what do you see it becoming?
Well, that's a good question. I see it as the end goal is basically having it to where people who are being overlooked, the underdogs. My bishop
Mm,
says it's the year of the underdogs, where the underdogs, I want it to be a platform for underdogs or people who are deemed underdogs
mhm,
are, it's like having a platform within a platform. And
Right.
not only are they getting paid, they're teaching classes. I also want it to be where we're getting different certifications. Like I want to be a big old family of underdogs, I guess you can say. But
Right.
yeah, that's the ultimate goal. And of course, bring people to Christ. Period. That's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I know I asked you earlier about what what the whole media thing for you, what it does for you,
Mm.
specifically. Is there what's the was there some, what's the most memorable interview, or maybe somebody said something that just stuck with you until that has always stuck with you? What's can you think of some the most memorable interview you've had so far?
I would actually have to say my interview with Bishop Greg Davis, which was a radio interview.
Mhm.
Um, but he said something that really, especially in that season, really pushed me. During, if you don't know him, he's a bishop. He's a single bishop who talks
Mhm.
about singleness.
Absolutely.
Um,
With the
so
white beard, with the
yeah, with the
I
white
love with the fresh beard.
and the
I
bald
like.
head.
Yes, I'm
Mhm.
jealous because mine
Right.
doesn't grow like that. But I'm trying to get it. But go ahead.
He told me that even in your singleness, even when you feel like people are overlooking you relationship wise because you're doing so much, or they find you as a threat, or they see you as intimidating, it's like God is going to place that person in your life that's going to literally not only accept your little flaws, the things that you got going on, but also put you up on a pedestal to
Mm.
where you don't have to belittle yourself for a man to be in your life. And that it's been with me since. I'm like, God, where my man that gonna put me on my pedestal? Where he at?
Wow, wow.
But yeah, that's I would yeah.
I noticed after doing my research or whatever, you do place a certain level of importance on um man and woman relationships and things of that nature. So where do you where do you stand within that? Like what is it a challenge being in the profession and being in the realm that you're in? Is that a challenge for you? Can you date conventionally like regular people, or is it a different type of thing?
That's another thing I'm still trying to figure out.
Mhm.
I'm kind of conflicted because it's like there's not that many young people in this industry. So it's like I'm not saying I'm the first of many, but I'm the first of many. And I kind of like it's like I'm demanding respect really. So it's like I don't want to step over any boundaries to where somebody be like, that Nene, honey, she was messing with so and so. See, I don't need none of that. None of that.
Right, right,
So
right.
it's like yes and no at the same time because it's like I'm not a person, and I'm sure you've seen if you watch my Instagram, I'm not a person that can like talk to multiple people at the same time, date multiple people at the same time. It's just too much for me. Like I'm too
Yeah,
emotionally involved. I don't see how
right,
people do it. I really don't
right,
see how people do it. Especially if you're doing a business, it's like how you have time, but that's besides the point. Um,
right.
I just
Got you.
I mean, I'm still learning that part of my life. And the reason why I push it so much is because I guess I have this glow, I don't know what you call it, this glow about me where people just think I'm married and they just be in my inbox like, "Where your husband at? How your husband feel about this?" And I'm like,
Wow,
obviously you don't watch my stuff because I'm always saying I'm single. And I'm
wow.
proud of it. Like, it's okay. So that's how I get to that.
You are hilarious. You are hilarious. Um, um, what's the most common misconception that people have about you? That you found that people have about you?
Ooh. People always think that I'm full of myself, and it's very quite the opposite. And people always think I have like this, you know, this Samson strength of confidence, and it's very opposite, very opposite.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I would think.
What will people be surprised to know about you?
um, well, I would say two things. A lot of people are surprised to find out that I'm 5 foot flat, like I'm real tiny. But if you meet me in person, you'll know that.
Mhm.
Another thing is, I'm, hmm, I'm like a nerd. I'm really much a nerd. Like I love technology. I love learning.
Mhm.
And maybe some people know it. Like if you're in my inner circle, you know it. But
Mhm.
like if you see me on social media, you'll be like, oh, she's into makeup, she's into hair, she's into lashes.
Mhm.
No, like most of my money is going towards technology.
Wow.
Literally.
Okay.
Technology ain't cheap. Let me point that
Mhm.
out.
What's the What's the last thing you bought?
Honestly, I'm getting, hopefully it comes in soon. I'm getting an iPad Air 4. Oh my goodness. With the pen, Apple pen and everything. I'm super excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super excited.
Okay. Okay. Do you think that for all that you've done up to this point,
Mhm.
when you look back to the beginning, when you started, like the very first interview you did,
Mhm.
were you ready? When you, if you like looking back on the
Mhm.
first interview, were you ready then,
I
knowing
would
what you know now?
I would say I was more ready then than I am now.
Oh,
I
really?
think, yeah, I think in the beginning phase, when you start anything, you're very much in that honeymoon phase. Like, oh my goodness, go, 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 go. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm very much, I'm stepping out of a season right now in my life where I'm like, okay, I really don't want to deal with these people in media. I really don't want
Mm.
to deal with the shenanigans of getting interviews, promoting the interviews, the shenanigans behind all of it. But before I was very much like, okay, come on, next interview, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Right, 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 right.
But yeah,
Wow. Like I thought, I thought I was the only one. Like I really thought I was the only one. And this is whole thing is so refreshing
mm,
for me because it's almost like I'm looking in a kind of mirror, kind of.
right.
Um, yeah, this whole thing, like this was birthed out of the pandemic. This is something that I always kind of like daydreamed about doing, but never really felt that I had whatever
Right.
it took, whatever it is that it took to be this. But I kind of stepped out on faith, and so it is what it is today. And I feel you on the whole honeymoon phase and thing. You want to do it. Like at one point, I would have done an interview every single day. Like,
Mm, right. Right. Same.
but
Now,
but now there are some moments because I do it every Friday. There's some moments where
right.
I'm laying down until like the very, very last.
Well, let me drag myself out of bed
Right,
today.
right.
Very much.
I'm the very, very last minute.
Very much.
But overall, I enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? And there are some things that I've heard, like, excuse me, like I had a young lady on here. Maybe you saw it, but she was adopted,
Mm,
and when she got older, she went searching for her birth mother,
mm,
and come to find out, her mother was her coworker. and had been her coworker for like 3 years, and the mother and the girl and the lady knew that she was this girl's mother, but never said anything.
That's fake.
No, that it's real. Like it's
That's
real. She
crazy.
actually was on the when Bishop Jakes had his show. She was
Mhm.
on there too.
Wow.
Yeah, it was yeah. You know what I'm saying? And these are the type of things that like that blows my mind. And
Right.
that's what makes
Right.
me wanna, you need that little bit of inspiration from time to time that make you want to get up and do what you do.
Right.
Um, Speaking of TD Jakes, he
Hmm.
has a he had a he said something that I never kind of forgot. It kind of stuck with me. He said effectiveness, no, success success is a consequence of effectiveness.
Mm.
Um, this leads me to my final official question.
Hmm.
This is a question that I ask all my guests. So just take a minute, think about it, and give me the most transparent answer that you can give me. Um, what would have to happen in your life if it hasn't happened already for you to consider your life a success?
That's a good question. That's a really good question because people see success in different lights.
Right.
I maybe I'm a little old school, maybe I'm a little traditional, but I see what I would deem success is having that business up and running, having multiple employees underneath it, at the same time being a boss, wife, mother, daughter, auntie. Yeah, I think I'm very traditional because other people be like, if I'm doing this, if I'm doing this. No, if I have a successful business, my relationships are going great, I deem that as successful. It's not about money to me.
Mhm.
It looks cute, oh, because you can travel, get the cars, but relationships matter more to me than money.
Right. Right.
So that's what I would say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, I lied to you. I got another question.
Okay.
um, does everything tie into Seven Tribe Media, or are there some other arms that?
That's a good question. I have other arms. I'm trying to figure out how to have them all connect. So I just launched a radio network called City of Redemption Radio Network a month
Mm,
ago. I launched Nene Lashes, which is going to be a cosmetic line called Ray Nadine. I haven't told anybody this. It's very exclusive.
an exclusive,
Very
yes, sir.
exclusive.
That's what I'm
I
talking
want to
about.
start a mentorship program to where I get like people like Bishop, Greg Davis, these big people that we see, as every day. Get them under a program to where basically they're mentoring people, but they don't know that they're being mentored by these people, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I also want to
Okay.
start a job opportunity program to
Hmm.
where it's kind of like Indeed, but not Indeed.
Got you.
But yeah,
Got you.
so yeah, I do a little some of everything, I guess you can say.
Okay.
I want to be like, honestly, I want to be the bridge to connect
Mm,
multiple, not only nations but multiple people. Like I just want to be in the middle. Like here, girl, here you go to this producer. Go here, girl. That's what I
right.
want to do.
Right. And see, listen. We kindreds. That's something that I say all the time. Like, I hope that, like, I tell my guests all the time, like, I hope that this turns into something like somebody that may be watching. I use this analogy all the time. Like, somebody might be watching and says they might have a building, and they're
Mhm.
like, I don't know what to do with this building. But after seeing this interview with Rica Nadine, I'm gonna give her this building because I don't know what to,
Come
you
on.
know. So I'm gonna give her this building, or
Right.
you know what I'm saying, or some like you were saying, relationships. You know, hope my hope is that once you leave this platform, people that you wouldn't ordinarily come into contact with would reach out to you and build new relationships.
Mm.
You know, whatever, and that's my ultimate goal, and to also highlight people who don't necessarily have the name that others might have that may be doing the same thing as them.
Right. I feel you.
But that's absolutely awesome. Um, if I'm an aspiring podcaster or media person,
Mhm.
and I need advice, I need guidance, I need to know where to go or what to do. How
Mhm.
do I get in touch with you?
Oh, I thought you was gonna say something else. You can get in touch with me on my IG,
Mm,
RICA_NADINE, or you can go to my website, www.ricanadine.com. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. You can email me. My email's pretty long, so I'm not gonna give it. But yeah, you can find me basically everywhere.
Um,
Google me.
I know that's right. Um, tell me,
Right.
tell everybody what's your, you know, name. What's the name of the podcast, or what's the name of the show?
Sipping tea with Nene, period.
You are hilarious. You have some. You are something else. I see why and how you do what you do. Um, well, I thank you. I don't have any. Is it before I go into that spiel? Is there anything that you want to share? Anything you want to share with the people before
I
you?
actually do. I usually charge people for this information, but
Wow.
I'm gonna
Wow.
give it to y'all for free. Um, if you're wanting to be in media, if you're wanting to um, do podcasting, radio, TV. For one, you need to make sure you're called to do this, not for the week at all. For two, get connected to the people behind the scenes. Yes, it's cute to be in front of the camera. It's cute to be, the person on all the flyers, but the managers, the assistants, that's where the real connection is. I promise you not. Get to know the people behind the scenes, and you'll get some of those big interviews for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. I think that was for me too. So I'm going to definitely take that.
So,
Is there anybody you want to shout out before we?
I want to shout out my brother, Big Ben. I want to shout out Throne Connections. I want to shout out everybody, like everybody, how y'all doing or whatever. Like, y'all beautiful. Like, I love y'all. So, yeah,
Where are you based out of?
I am in Kentucky. I'm
Wow.
very
Okay.
much I'm from Tennessee, but I'm in Kentucky.
I was not expecting that.
Mhm.
I really thought you were going to say like Maryland or DC. I really thought you were going to say that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm very
Okay.
country.
Okay. That's what's up. Um, so with
Mhm.
that being said, I want to thank you again for coming on the platform because I know that you could have been doing a gazillion other things. Um, I
Fun.
appreciate it, and I wish many blessings on you, your family, your company, and every program that you're trying to bring about. I wish you much blessings on that, and I hope and I hopefully look forward to having you on again in the near future
Yes.
because I have still a laundry list of questions, but I had to kind of like scale back.
Mhm.
So again, I thank you and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for considering me to be on your show. Like, I'm so honored. Usually I'm the one interviewing. I never really get interviewed. So I want to
Right.
thank you so much for highlighting my business, hearing my opinion and asking me questions. Thank you for taking the time out. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No problem at all. It was my pleasure. I consider it an honor to be a part of your journey.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
all right. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna let you roll. But again, I thank you. Wish you much blessings, an awesome night, and an even more awesome weekend. And again, thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, your family, your
Thank you.
finances, your
Thank you.
ministries, everything that you got going on. I
Thank
see
you.
it. Like, it's good. I see what you're doing. I see the vision.
Thank you.
You have a voice, and I would say use it. Use it as much as you can, even if they don't want to listen. Use it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Well, you have a good night. And again, I thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you. There we go. Another awesome interview with another amazing and awesome guest. I want to thank Miss Rica Nadine again for gracing the platform. I hope that all those who chose to come on and listen got something out of this interview. And if you caught us at the end or midway through, you can watch it again on watch the playback on YouTube. Let's Take a Walk featuring Rica Nadine, Ricanadine, and watch it from the beginning. But again, as usual, I want to thank everybody who took the time out to come and check us out, see what we're talking about. It's my prayer that something that was said or expressed will encourage or inspire you to do and continue to be great. Um, I am still pushing forward to where I want to be. Um, Shout out to Christ like Benjamin, D God, Chaser. Shout out to you guys. Um, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was. And so I thank God for that. And for you guys, I'm going to continue to press forward. Like I told y'all last week, sometimes it gets to a point where it's just like, is anybody listening? Does anybody care? And then soon as I get to that point, it's like God is like, oh, okay, let me send somebody to encourage him. And it's like right at that moment, somebody tells me that they watched the show or they appreciate something that was said or expressed on the show, and it just snaps me out of that feeling of hopelessness. Um, so again, I thank you guys because you guys are helpful in more ways than one. Um, with that being said, man, I really want to wish you guys an amazing weekend and amazing rest of the night. Um, I won't be on next Friday because it's my birthday. It'll be my birthday, so I got to see what my family has in store for me. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I love celebrating birthdays, but more so, I love hanging out with my people, with my family, my kids, and my wife, and that whole thing. So I'll see you guys in, I guess, about 2 weeks. It's gonna be hard not to get with y'all, but absence makes the heart grow fonder and that whole thing. So God bless y'all, man. Let's take a walk.